If you think about it, most organizations set their growth ambitions at the top and execution layers run down below hard each day. They're just trying to get done what needs to be done in a very large company. So often these top level ambitions and goals can get lost in the day-to-day execution layer. And there's an opportunity cost for that, right? The investments often go into low yield areas. Progress on the larger growth ambitions can become slow and episodic. So without taking a pause and causing alignment and understanding, you get this siloed project effect, duplicate efforts, wasted resources, team lack of focus, and it just all starts to chip away at the real promise of AI. So the promise is really about ensuring that everyone knows what AI means in your company. And it sounds silly, but it's very, very important to create this common lexicon and framework to talk about AI, provide clear examples to bring that framework and language to life, and then take the opportunity to provide corporate financial support for AI that's further up this maturity curve and allows some freedom to explore the lower end AI possibilities, but don't really encourage picking up pennies and spending dollars on basic ideas. Force the low level AI to replace cost and spend that's already inside of your company, and reward high level AI ideas with additional funding and requisite governance. And first and foremost, make sure the foundation you're building on is sound. You have to have sound data, you have to have defined processes, and you have to have operational viability. And I think Russ will get into some of that later in the discussion. But this doesn't need to be slow. The structure framework can bring clarity and quick wins that happen in days and weeks and not necessarily have to wait months. But it's absolutely imperative that the leaders establish a framework to identify and guide AI investments, ensuring that these more significant investments are lockstep with the corporate strategy and it's really understood by all. And let's work through a very simple framework and then examples within that framework. Consider inside of our company, we're going to talk about AI in 3 stages. Stage 1 is individual and assisted AI intelligence. Very basic AI, sometimes conversational, perhaps agentic, with a mechanism to analyze and then alert an individual to action. Low cost, short time to read value would be characteristics of what I would call this stage 1. Stage 2, think about it more as augmented AI. In these cases, AI begins to work itself across the functions in a company, across businesses and processes, enabling more real-time integration that maybe traditionally is found in the siloed enterprise. A bit more cost, longer time to value, but really heavily weighted in reward when you get this put in place. Reward in terms of both speed and repeatability. And then finally, in our simplistic model, we'll talk about stage 3 as being the most mature and being autonomous AI. Things and phrases like self-learning, self-governing, decision-capable AI are all characteristics I would expect from this stage. And it's really transformative in that it's changing the traditional organization model in terms of structure and time and cost and who does what. Once you've taught the management and the overall team to think about AI in a model like these 3 stages, assisted, augmented, and autonomous, you can start to provide examples of each, create investment strategies, areas of focus, and reward targets for each. Now, let me explain, maybe by way of example, further this model. In a manufacturing company, whether it be a process or a discrete manufacturing company, stage 1 example might be using AI to measure and monitor noise and vibration coming off of some of your manufacturing assets, and then alerting a maintenance tech that there's an issue with an asset. Very basic, but very additive to the performance of that manufacturing facility. Stage 2, when we're talking about augmented AI, it's really about having maybe an AI agent analyze the spare part inventory after that vibration has been detected and trigger a requisition for the parts that need to be ordered and trigger a requisition for the technologist to come repair it. And now so you see you're starting to work across from maintenance to procurement to back to maintenance again. And having an AI agent do that, a lot more value, a lot more speed, probably more cost and change management. And maybe an example of stage 3 following the same example on the shop floor. is now AI detects that issue. That agent orders a spare part after checking inventory, doesn't just request it, but actually orders it, and actually schedules the technician's time, modifies the production schedule in accordance with all your customer orders, changes the dates that those customer orders are going to be delivered, and then changes all the supply chain considerations in terms of inbound and outbound logistics and materials. And that's very autonomous, and you can see it wiping across the entire company and delivering tremendous value. In this example, you can see how they each become more integrated, more context as you move from left to right is important to the AI model, but the returns are exponentially larger on the right rather than the left of this model. And I'd also argue that the stage one work that we talked about and stage one work that you might think about inside your own company ought to be funded at immediate cost out of operations, giving the low-level operations a chance to drive it at their pace to the extent that they see the value. They put $1 into AI, they get the dollar out the same day. Their budget is neutral, but now they're starting to transform themselves as an AI function inside of your company. Stage 2 and 3 become more about linking strategy to AI. Create a small group perhaps inside your company to allocate from a central money fund to these if they align with the areas of growth or cost reduction that the management team has agreed upon. This is really critical for linking big AI in your company to strategy. And reward those that are in alignment with the corporate strategy with funding, support, governance to advance these sorts of AI ambitions. You can and should make this all fit together. Whether it's within an Aspire session led by Rinda or done internally in your company, you can define AI, create a funding strategy that advances key areas, and expect low-level AI to become the way people think about getting their work done. This all gets done during this pause, and that's, Mark, why the pause matters.